Hey everybody, it's me, Mitch, with the 77 group, and this week we're talking leadership. And today we're going to discuss why it's important for leaders to know when it's appropriate to step in, and sometimes when it's not appropriate to step in, because things can happen. Teams either need stuff or they just need you to get out of the way and let them work their magic. So, uh, with that in mind, we're going to dive into that a little deeper today on this episode number 22 of the 77 group. And now let me kick it over to my partner, Frank Leone, for an overview of our YouTube experience. Frank?
Okay, hi Mitch, and hi everybody out there in YouTube land. As you can tell, while Mitch quietly sits in his wonderful home office, I'm out here on the Normandy coast, just relaxing a little bit. And I know they don't let Americans in these days, but I snuck in under the radar, so here I am. But in any event, want to remind you again that each one of these episodes reflects a chapter out of one of our books. My book, 77 Ways to Perfect Your Communication Skills, Enhancing Your Personal and Professional Relationships, has been out since May, is doing very, very well, is available on our website, www.77grp, as in 77group.com, as well as on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and target.com and really most of the other platforms that are out there for ordering books, and available in both hard copy, soft copy, as well as audiobook and ebook. And the ebook, I believe, is priced about $5.99. So it's the affordable option for the more budgetary conscious among you. And then Mitch's book is 77 Principles, Tips, and Takeaways for Exceptional Leaders, putting the final touches on it right now, and that should be out within the next few months. But in any event, again, each chapter is covered in every one of our episodes. And that's what this week's chapter from Mitch is all about. Want to remind you to do two things. One is to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already a subscriber. I believe the number is now up in excess of 400 subscribers. Sounds good to me. I'm not a YouTube zealot, so I really don't know, but it sounds like it's a reasonable start for us. And to like us if you can. I understand that's important. And to leave questions and comments, especially questions, as you'll see in a bit. We pick one question every week from the questions that come in, and we respond to that during our presentation and give a special little award to the person that asked the best question. We give them a 15-minute or so chat with us about the topic, about leadership or communication, whichever it may be. Personalized one-on-one phone conversation that can answer questions that are germane to your particular needs. So with that, I want to turn it back to Mitch for today's presentation. Mitch?
Hey, thanks, Frank. As always, great intro and great overview of the things we are putting together here on YouTube. And we really enjoy this opportunity to come to you and share a little bit about our experience, the things that we've learned, some of the mistakes that we've made, and help us get better at what we do. And we're just grateful that you're giving us this time here on YouTube. So today, from chapter 14 of my book, 77 Principles, Tips, and Takeaways for Exceptional Leaders, the topic here is know when to step in. And every leader will tell you, new leaders, experienced and seasoned leaders, they're gonna let you know or share with you their experience about times when they needed to step in and either resolve an issue or provide guidance and leadership, or maybe just create a pathway to resources for their teams to excel, to achieve the work, finish the work, and keep that needle moving forward. And exceptional leaders really come to find that sweet spot where they're able to swiftly determine what's needed at any given time, and sometimes where all that's needed is to get out of the way. and let their teams do their work. Additionally, there are times where disagreements between a couple of strong personalities might take place, and perhaps maybe the leader's got to step in and use some conflict resolution. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into our tips if you're ready, Frank.
I am. Go for it, Mitch.
Okay, so tip number one this week is do not complicate things. What you want to avoid really is diving in with, assuming that, okay, something's happening here, I got to jump in. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to get in the middle of things. Sometimes exceptional leadership is reflected by your willingness to take a step back, harness your pride, resist that urge to jump in the middle of things, and just let your team handle it. Very quick story. When I was a very young leader, heard a couple of my staff members kind of arguing over a point. And so I figured, I'm a man of action. I need to get in the middle of this. I started heading over to go, okay, let's go, break it up, back to work. And before I even got there, I noticed that they were basically handling things. I heard one of them say, hey, you know what? I appreciate that. I hadn't thought of that thing. Thank you so much. And so, lesson learned there is, cool your jets, Mitch. It's not necessary for you to jump in all the time. By and large, just let your team or show your team the respect that they've earned by being a part of your team. Let them work things out. So tip number one, don't complicate things. Not always necessary to jump in, take charge, and possibly create some more controversy than necessary.
And Mitch, I heard you mention the word team a number of times. It is my guess, but please elaborate on this, that we're talking about one-on-one encounters as well.
Oh, absolutely. And that's such a great point. The team is one view of the leader, but also you drill down a little bit and look at the individuals that make up that team, or if you're just leading one person. If you sense a need that is better served by you stepping in, then do so. If you see a team member or if you see an individual who is showing the wares of what they're trying to get done, or if you witness them maybe not getting meeting deadlines or getting their work done in a timely fashion, then it's okay to just kind of step in, ask a few questions. Hey, what is it that you find challenging here? What is it that I can do to support you better? And just share with them what you notice and see how you can help. Conversely, there might be times where you observe a team member struggle for a moment. Again, don't, harness your pride. Don't come charging in right away. Take a moment to observe what's going on, and, chances are equally good that they're going to overcome it on their own, and you don't have to get involved in any way.
Okay, how about tip number two, Mitch? Tip number two.
Appreciate that. Thanks for that. Moving along, tip number two, survey the situation. So what I'm saying here is to pause long enough to survey what's going on, get input from team members and that are closest to the action for a real understanding of what's going on before you do anything.
How do you survey? I mean, survey is a generic phrase. When you say survey, I'm gonna put probing in action. Get a little bit more specific. What do you mean by surveying?
Okay, so use your powers of observation. Take a look at what's going on with discernment and exercise the knowledge and wisdom that you have with what's necessary to be performed, or what's going on with the either individual or team dynamic, and then go ahead and ask those questions. What's happening here? What is it that you see? Ask the people involved and get an idea of what's truly happening on the ground before you take any kind of action. if any action at all is needed.
Well, I like that point. First of all, I like it being an open-ended question rather than a yes or no question. Ask them, what do you see here?
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion? As opposed to, do you feel blank or, yes or no? Right. So I think you hit that one well.
Okay.
Tip number 3.
Tip number 3, provide the tools that your teams will need to become successful. So when it comes to needed resources, don't hold back. We know what the mission is. We know what the objective is. If you're a good and exceptional leader, you've used the good communication principles listed in my partner's book, 77 ways to perfect your communication skills, and provide the resources that your team needs to achieve those mission objectives, and give them the tools they need to be successful. Your job as a leader is to help others be successful at what they're doing.
I would think, Mitch, that there's both tangible and intangible tools we're talking about. How about a prime example of both?
Okay, well, some tangible tools, I think, really come down to real live tools. Do we have the software needed? Do we have the training needed? Do we have are we making available the resources that the individual or the team needs to be successful? Some intangibles, and if I understand correctly here, Frank, might be the support, the emotional support, the things that people look to from their leaders, that encouragement to help them get the confidence they need to go after, attack their mission, and be successful at what they're doing.
Tip number 4.
All right, thanks. So tip number 4 is encourage your team to overcome their challenges. So real simply stated here, whenever possible, encourage your team to work through the challenges on their own. The more you are able to do that, the better. And I kind of just referenced this, answering your question, Frank, is the more you're able to encourage your team to overcome challenges on their own, the more they start to grow confidence. And the more they grow confidence, then the more they're able to achieve, their productivity goes up, and the less dependent on you for that kind of guidance is necessary. Now, once you are relieved of that need to guide them in every step of the way, you're able to go look at the next big team challenge, or the next hill to capture for your team, for the next big thing. So encourage your team to overcome these challenges that they face on their own.
Okay, and tip number 5.
All right, so tip number 5, and this is going to be a running theme through all of these 77 principles of exceptional leadership, is maintain a servant's heart. If you do have to get involved, do so with a measure of humility, a humble heart, a servant's heart, because leadership isn't about sitting upstairs in your office looking out on everybody, giving direction, telling them what to do. Leadership is about serving. You serve the people who report to you so they can go out and make things happen, because you need them as a leader. You need those folks that report to you to do their specific jobs and to collaborate together to achieve the long-term goals and objectives. And remember, conduct yourself with a servant's heart, because it's not so much about you. It's not about upstaging them or showing off. It's about providing for them so they can be successful. Because when they're successful, you're successful.
I really like the of things you recently said. That's probably the thing I've liked the most. What you just said about a leader needs his team.
Amen.
And so often a leader sees themselves there and he sees the team there. It's not that way at all. You know, a leader is somebody that recognizes that they're not going to be successful unless the people that they're providing leadership to are successful, and that you're all in this together ultimately. So it was a wonderful point.
Amen. And,
So
and I like the way you shrink it down to the minimum there, because that is the point. All the other stuff is just a lot of noise. You nailed the point there, Frank. Thanks.
So could you repeat your 5 tips?
Yeah, so let's cover those once again. Number one, for knowing when to step in, don't complicate things. Number two, survey, evaluate the situation. Number three, make sure you're providing the tools of success for the people that report to you so they can get their work done. Tip number 4, encourage your team to overcome challenges on their own. And tip number 5, maintain a servant's heart.
Okay, all good. Before we ask Mitch for the question of the week, or to respond to the question of the week, a couple of reminders from my end. One is that next week's topic, I'm on board again. It'll be episode number 23. But my topic next week is called Ask Appropriate Questions, which on the surface may sound pretty simplistic, but there's a real art to it. So we're going to talk about the art of asking appropriate questions, when to ask them, how to ask them, what kinds of questions to ask, how to verbalize them, and other aspects of that. A reminder again, subscribe, send your comments and questions, and like us. Remember, submit questions. I think that's very important as well. So as we normally do, if you have one, if there's a question that warrants being anointed the question of the week, I'm going to turn it back to Mitch.
Thanks, Frank. And so let's go back a few episodes to episode 14 episode 18 from chapter 14 of my book, Get Organized and Be Prepared. And Anthony, okay, here we go. Anthony DeMann from Walnut Creek, California. Great tag there, Anthony. He asks a very simple question, and that is, Mitch, should leaders expect their reports to live by the same standard of being organized and prepared? So Anthony DeMann, the very simple and straightforward question is yes. Leaders absolutely expect the same standard from the people they lead to be organized, stay prepared, but remember this, that they can only expect their reports to live up to that standard to the extent that they or I live up to that standard as their leader, because as I mentioned a few episodes ago, leaders are the model. And if you are kind of slack, if you're not on time, if you're not organized, if you're not behaving in a way that reflects the culture of or the desired culture of your organization, then don't expect your reports to outperform you in those areas. They're going to mirror the standard you put out there. So if you're being organized and prepared, then absolutely you should expect your team to live up to that standard. And anybody that struggles with it, be prepared to offer support and guidance to help them get there.
Okay. And as we do every week, a personal thought you would like to share with our viewers.
Absolutely, Frank. And this week, my final thought or closing thought is very simple. When we make staying calm a personal discipline, we can avoid mistakes, we can exercise discernment, and we can overcome any of the problems that might arise through stress, anxiety, and in doing so, we can inspire calm in the hearts of those around us. So be someone who is kind and calm so that the people around you don't start to panic, especially if you're in a leadership role.
Okay, all very good. Anything else to add, Mitch?
Not this time, Frank, other than it's been great being a part of everybody's YouTube experience. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, and we thank all of you for taking the time to watch this episode. And this is the only episode you've seen. There's 21 others that are out there in YouTube land that you can go take a look at. And we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week. So thanks a lot. Mitch, you want to say goodbye?
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.